One of the reasons that students don't experience any progress with improvisation is because they don't really have some sort of warm-up plan or process to approach a tune. A lot of times I see students, and I did this when I was younger, pull up a tune. I have just friends pulled up here. They'll sit down at the piano. I used to just kind of noodle around, right? I'd sit down, I'd look at the changes here. I'd play the chord, and then I'd try to play the next chord. And then I'd kind of play some wrong notes. Oh, that's okay. I'll keep going here. Let me see. And I'm not really playing in time at all. I'm just kind of experimenting, messing around. Whoops. Okay, I'll keep going, right? And really, what does this actually lead to, right? Well, not much. So I can tell you this. The 3 secrets or hacks I'm about to show you, I guess they're not really hacks, they're really warm-up ideas that you can use over a tune like this or any other tune, is going to drastically prepare you for success. You're going to be able to sit down and have these items here that might sound something like this. Right? Now, obviously, you probably won't sound exactly like that, but a lot of the things I was using is exactly what I'm going to teach you in this video right now. The 3 warm-up ideas will actually prepare you and your body and your hands to have more of that come out in your playing naturally, which is what we're looking for, having it come out spontaneously. So when you stick around, I'm going to show you these 3 warm-up ideas, how to execute them, and what the practice drills are, so that when you sit down at the piano to improvise over a tune, you're going to hear the amazing improvisation come out of you naturally and actually be floored by your playing.
Welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast. My name is Brendan Lowe. And if you've ever felt stuck trying to learn jazz piano from a million different sources, this show is definitely for you. Each week, I break things down step by step to help you play with more freedom, more confidence, and a whole lot more swing. Everything I share here ties back to the system that I created and that we use inside the Jazz Piano School membership. So if you're ready for more structure and progress, I'll tell you how to check that out at the end of this episode. And hey, if you're enjoying this kind of real-world guidance, make sure to hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes.
All right, so right off the bat, I'm going to give you this golden nugget, okay? Improvisation, particularly bebop, is comprised of 3 components: steps, skips, and bebop approaches. I'd highly recommend you write that down because it's extremely important to make successful progress in bebop. If you're missing one of those components, then your sound is really not going to sound that great. Now, why do we need steps, or in other case, scales? Well, if I don't have any steps or fluid motion connecting my notes up and down in my improv, all of my improv is going to sound hiccupy or jagged, just like this. Now, it sounds okay, right? But it's still missing a lot of components. And one of those components is just the fluidity of scalar motion, okay? And a lot of students who are resistant to learning modes, scales, over the chord changes, that's exactly what their improv sounds like because they have no smooth, fluid motion. Now, here's what it sounds like when I have some scalar motion or utilizing steps or scales in my improv. It sounds very smooth and fluid. Much nicer did that sound? Now, a couple things are happening here. I know my scales. I know my modes. I know the notes that I can play, and this allows me to fluidly move up and down the piano, right? So if this is something you're missing or you've been resistant to learning chord scales that match up with the chords, this is going to be really, really important for you to make progress, okay? Here's the drill, though. I'm going to make it super simple for you. This is going to be warm-up number 1. Look at the key signature, okay? We have 1 sharp, so that means we're in the key of G. I'm going to play my G major scale here. Now, over most tunes, you can actually get away with just playing your major scale that aligns with the key signature. So, over that C major 7, I'm actually going to just play my G major scale. Right? And this is actually going to line up perfectly with that C major 7. Now, when we get to the C minor 7, I do have to tweak things a little bit. So in jazz, we need a little bit of theory knowledge, right, to understand what scales go with what chords. And in this case, this 2-5-1, C minor, F7, B flat major. That's going to be in the key of B flat. So I'm actually going to switch my scale to a B flat major scale. But we'll tackle that when we get there. So over the C major 7, I can use my major scale however I want, up and down. It doesn't matter. Rhythmically, it doesn't matter. But here's the trick. You want to land on a chord tone. These are the chord tones here, 1, 3, 5, 7, on the downbeat of each measure. So when I get to the second measure, I'm still on a C major 7. I want to land on that chord tone because it's going to reflect the sound. Check it out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So I landed on that C there. I'll do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. I landed on the 7, right? Now, there's ways to get around this, but these are really the warm-up drills that are going to help create success in your sound. So as I move on to the next measure, let's say I'm on measure 2 now, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. You see how I landed on that E flat now? So I landed on the E flat. That's the third of the C minor 7. Now I would switch my scale to a B flat major scale because technically this 2-5-1 is coming from the key of B flat. So now I need to know my B flat major scale, which is right here. So from this E flat, I can move up and down in my B flat major scale however I want over the C minor 7 and the F7. So I might go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? And 1 and land on that chord tone of the F7. So that's the warm-up drill right there. This is exactly what you should be doing over all your tunes to prepare yourself for improv. So anytime you go to approach a new tune, you're doing this slowly exactly as I did it, and you're kind of experimenting and moving up and down. You want to keep some clear rhythm, but if you practice this and use it as a process before you start to improv, you're going to get so much better at improv in a much shorter time. So that's going to be number 1. Number 2 is that, like I said, we need steps and skips. So we need skips in our improv to make it sound good. We don't just need steps, because if I just use steps, it's going to sound like scales, right? Just kind of up and down. So that's the balance there. So students who practice all modes and scales will sound like that. Students who don't practice any scales or modes, they're going to sound like, for the first demo I gave you, all skips, all jagged and segmented, whatever. So what we need to do now is add in skips, but there's certain types of skips you want to practice to warm up, and I'm going to give you those right now. Over your major 7 chords, just outlining the chord is a great arpeggio to practice up and down. Okay? And then you can do 3, 5, 7, 9 as well. 3, 5, 7, 9. So you can go up. You can go down. And then I'd move to my next chord. Now, over the minor 7, there's a lot. I'm actually just going to give you 3 skip patterns. We can use the root position skip pattern. We can use 3, 5, 7, 9 here. We can actually use 5, 7, 9, 11 as well. Okay, and there's one more, but I don't want to overwhelm you, right? For the dominant, we're just going to use root position again and 3, 5, 7, 9. Now, the cool thing is, once you get these skip patterns down, that's mainly what makes up bebop. So if I go to play a bebop line, you might hear, right? So that's actually a bebop line. Now, I had a skip pattern here coming down, and then I moved into scalar motion. Right? So it was a balance between skips and steps. Or I could go up. Right? So I went up. I went up my skip pattern to start my line out. So we also need to know these skips. We also need to be practicing these skips over the chord tones. If I were to practice my skips over the C minor 7, I might play up the root position, up the third, up the 5, repeat, back down. And again, the whole goal of this is for this to come out naturally in my improv, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So once we've kind of gone through the entirety of the tune and practiced our skip patterns, now we want to start to play them a little bit and use them in our improv. So we don't want to do all skips, right? Remember, it's just going to sound like this. That would just be all skips. We need a balance between what we just practiced, our steps, our scales, and our skips. So I want to do skips. steps, maybe skips, right? Steps, skips. So we're trying to create a balance between the steps and the skips. Now, a little bebop hack here, a miscellaneous nugget. If you add a half step in before your skips, you're going to create a truly authentic bebop sound. Check it out. If I lead into my skip pattern here with a half step below the first note, that is as classic as a bebop sound as it gets. If I do that into the root position chord, you're going to get a great skip sound. And that's actually just exactly what's used in bebop. Sometimes they're turning it into triplets. So 1 and 2 bullet 3, right? 1 and 2 bullet 3. Whoops, sorry. 1 and 2 bullet 3, or 1 and 2 bullet 3. Now, the half step approaches are mainly used to go up, but you could kind of use them to go down. 1 and 2 bullet 3. That sounds great. I like that. 1 and 2 bullet 3. I like that as well, right? So I'm going up into my top skip pattern note and then coming back down. So we need skips. The purpose of this is to integrate and work on skips so that we can balance them with our first drill, the steps. Finally, warm-up number 3, taking rhythmic cells. Now, these rhythmic cells are going to create rhythmic motif in your playing. When you use rhythmic motifs, it's going to tie everything together and create structure and storytelling in your improv. Check it out. Take a rhythm like 1, 1, 2, and 3. Dot, 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 dot. 1, 2, and 3. Now, this can really be played with any notes as long as you're kind of floating within the chord scale or the key that you're in, right? Now, the whole purpose of this is just to take that rhythm, dot, 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 and use it with different notes, but continue the rhythm throughout the entirety of the tune. Check it out. 1, so remember my rhythm, dot, 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 dot. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm going to do this in many different ways. Up, down, space, no space, over all the chords. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dot, 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 dot. Dot, 3, 4. Dot, 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 dot. I'll stop counting. I'll change it up a little. So really the whole purpose of this, I know it seems simple, but it's to really start to create some interesting rhythmic ideas, to work on your rhythm, being in the pocket, and start to create motivic development in your solo, right? You kind of work on the fundamentals in the first 2 steps, but now you're working on development, improvisation development. Let's pick another one. Let's do triplet 1, triplet da da da. So triplet 2 and 3. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. And it can be any notes as long as it's within the chord scale. Here we go. Da 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 da. Triplet 2 and 3. Okay, here we go. Now, I promise you, when you start to practice this is going to come out more naturally in your playing, and you're practicing more than just rhythm. You're practicing your rhythm in the pocket. You're practicing your note recognition, staying within the key. You're also practicing your development, your motivic development, right? Utilizing patterns and, pushing that through the entirety of the tune. You're also practicing ear training. Right? You're practicing and listening to these little patterns. Where could they go? How could they change? How might I morph this through the tune? So again, to recap, number 1, work on your scalar motion using the chord scale. Resolve on those chord tones. Okay. Number 2, work on your skips. Work on integrating and utilizing your skip patterns with your scales. Right? And finally, practice rhythmic motifs or rhythmic cells. See how much much tied together and structured that sounds to create a really professional sound when you execute it well, right? So again, I promise you, instead of sitting down at the piano and just kind of noodling and really not knowing what to do to approach a new tune or even a tune you've played before, if you start with these 3 warm-up ideas, I promise you, you're going to make so much more progress than you ever have before in your improv pretty much instantly. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's episode helped bring you some clarity or even inspiration for your playing. If you want a clear path to move forward based on your personal jazz goals, I put together a free resource called the Jazz Piano School Flowchart. It maps out the 3 most common goals jazz pianists pursue: how to play in a band, comping, solo piano, and improvisation. And it shows you exactly what to work on to get there. You can grab it now for free by going to jazzpianoschool.com/flowchart, or just click the link in the show notes. I'll catch you in the next episode, and as always, happy practicing.